Yes, Design Co. I am a content creator for Dixie Belle Paint Company. I come live with you guys for painting tutorials every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So here we are doing some more work on this buffet. Last week you guys watched how I created this raised stencil with Dixie Belle mud and the fabulous stencil that I used by Dixie Belle. All I did today was I sanded some of that back because there's sharper edges and get it ready for paint. So what you're seeing on this piece of furniture, if you've missed that, you can go back and watch the first couple of episodes where I added the Bonding Boss primer in gray. And then we are going to paint this gal up and make her look beautiful. So the colors that I'll be using today for the bottom half of this is in the navy. Hey Patty, how are you, sweetheart? So I'll be using in the navy for the bottom portion of this, and then I'm going to be painting the entire piece. This is very watery paint today, in dusty blue, and then I will be going back next week and maybe blending with vintage duck egg or haint blue, all three, all four, who knows, I never know. I just kind of go with what I feel. So there's that. All right, so what you're gonna need to paint your piece of furniture, obviously you're going to need a paintbrush, and you're gonna need your water mister bottle and a piece of furniture. So let's have at it. You guys ready? You guys, make sure I'm not missing anything. All righty. I'm gonna swallow my water. So we're gonna go ahead and I am going to paint. And how I decide where I'm going to paint my piece of furniture is I usually will stop at the crossbars. And so what that means is from here to about right there, everything up will be a solid different color and everything below will be a different color. So I tend to paint the bottom of my pieces with a darker color preference. Just you guys can do whatever you'd like to do. My paint is super thick, so I'm going to be adding some water and mixing it up. So let me grab something to do that with. Hold on 1 second. And I should have a paint stick somewhere around here. All right, handy dandy paint stick and some water for some paint that I've had abused, whatever, however you want to say that. Now I am just gonna go ahead and open up my water bottle. This is just clear water in here. I'm gonna dump, see how thick that is in comparison to the other paint we just used. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some water to the top of that. You can do that, it does not hurt the paint. And I'm gonna just use this stick that I have lying around here in my shop. And we're just gonna mix this up. Now you could close the lid and shake it. I want to do this because I feel like I get a smoother mix instead of all the bubbles. And again, now it's starting to look a little easier to move around instead of being so thick. I'm just gonna add a little mixer, just a little bit more. I'm coming towards the bottom. These 32 ounces, 32? Yeah, the 32 ounce containers sometimes will do that because I keep them for so long. So I used to only buy in 32 ounce containers, and now I have shied away from that because I have a lot of colors, and sometimes I don't use all of the colors as much as I think I'm going to. Let me go put this over here. So in that case, I started buying the 16 ounces because I go through them a lot quicker and I don't have that problem. And see how much easier that is for that to move around? So yay! I'm gonna go ahead and put my lid back on and let's get started. All right, so I am going to drop you guys down. I don't have my thing to sit on today. So let's see. As low as she goes. Okay, well I guess I'm just gonna sit on the floor today and I'll bring you guys down with this brush is what I'm going to be using today. I have my Dixie Belle, la la la. All right, and are in the navy. I have my slippers on, don't be judgy. I'm in my shop and I work from home, so guess what? I get to wear my slippers to work. So there's that. Okay, again, everything from here down, we're going to paint in the navy color, and then here up will be in that dusty blue, and it'll be beautiful. I will be going over, I like my legs to be dark. I'll bring you guys in just so you guys can see a little bit better. I like my legs to be dark. And so what I'll do for my first coat especially is I will just, you can tape that if you want to. I don't bother because I blend everything. I like to stipple my paint on when I'm doing my legs, because it feels like I get better coverage and it gets into all these little round areas versus just kind of painting it on. It's, again, just a preference. It's what I do and what works best for me. Then you just kind of come around all these little areas, especially where you can't see. So if you're just kind of stabbing the paintbrush up there, it works a little bit better than not. Okay, just kind of, not a whole lot of paint, just about that much. And we're just painting it on. And again, this is a start to finish piece. So if you guys are a little more advanced, Miss Patty, bear with us. I'm just showing you guys from start to finish how to do a piece of furniture and all of the fun things. I will be doing a lot of shadowing with paint and blending and waxes and all of the things. That will all be next week. I'll have this piece, I'm scared I'm gonna dump that paint on my head. I will have this piece completely finished and ready to go the week after next. So next week will be the last part of this series. Water in my paintbrush. Bear with me, there's like water up in the metal part of my paintbrush because I'm terrible and I soak my brushes. Don't do that, wash your brushes. Okay, so for coat 1, like I said, we're just gonna stipple that on. Here, obviously we can paint better, but for all those little curvy areas, just to kind of get our paint in there. And I will be adding lots and lots of gilding wax to this piece because there's so much detail on that, and I love to use Dixie Belle's gilding wax for that reason. It's a beautiful embellishment. Okay, so you just grab this piece while we're here before I forget. And I'm gonna turn this piece and then we'll work on the side. She's squeaky, bear with me. Throw things, that's why I didn't want to put the paintbrush up there. It's gonna land on my head. All right, there we go. We can still see. I still need to finish this piece, so I won't be painting that, but we are gonna be painting the sides. Yeah, make sure you get all the way around on what you're working on. I still always learn something new from you. Aw, Patty, you're too sweet. So, so sweet. Okay, we're just gonna stipple that on there. Again, this first coat is just getting it on there. We're not looking for full coverage. Otherwise it'd be a gloopy, gloppy mess. For those that wonder how you get a smooth finish, just do thin layers. There's no rush. There's never, at least I don't think so. Is there ever a painting emergency? Like, we have to have this. Like, I don't really think that's a thing. All right. Just getting that on there. Getting all the underneath bits and the front pieces. All right, now for the little crossbar area. Again, I could have taped this off if I wanted to. This is my clear line of where I'll be doing the dark blue. Again, that paint color is in the navy, and that's a chalk mineral paint from Dixie Belle. I'm just gonna come right up underneath there and get that crisp line. I guess I am gonna paint the molding in the front because I think it'll look funny if I stop. And it's fine, it'll all be blended anyway. Anybody working on any fun projects right now? Or have any questions about any of the paint products that I've been using so far? All right, come on back around. And we're just gonna add some paint to that bottom. Get that back area. Again, you always wanna make sure that you get the fronts, the backs, all of it. Otherwise, if you're not doing it now, you're gonna miss it. And when you're loading your piece up into your car to take it to wherever it goes, to a client, wherever, you're gonna notice those little pieces. So I always paint underneath too. And I lay my piece of furniture on its back, and then I get that area as well. But we will not be doing that live because it's super loud and it'll be wet after doing all this. So tomorrow I'll go back and paint the underneath portions of this. All right, so there's that. We're gonna come back around this way. Super loud. And if you guys missed it, I will be applying this beautiful transfer My favorite bouquet transfer, we'll be doing that next week on the insides. So the inside right here had some veneer damage. I will not be painting that. So putting a pretty transfer over it will cover up anything that I have to worry about. Ooh, little jewelry boxes and holiday crafts. That's super fun. I will be cleaning up the inside of this with staining the inside, the back, and the top. And I will be painting up underneath here because I'm noticing that. So this will be on the inside. That'll be super, I just like a fun little pop of surprise. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so now we're just gonna go ahead and grab this bottom crossbar, and then we'll move on to the Dusty Blue, which is a beautiful color if you haven't used that. Dusty Blue, Vintage Duck Egg, and in the navy are one of my favorite combinations of colors to use because they blend so easy and they just pair well with each other. Anytime I paint anything in those colors, it sells rather quickly. It's neutral enough for everybody's home. Hopefully you guys can see it's kind of a weird angle to be painting. That transfer is really beautiful. Thank you, Patty. It's one of my favorites. I like the smaller one too. It gives you options. I'm not really sure what the flowers are on there, but they're very pretty. The purples are my jam. I was gonna choose to paint this purple, but it would have limited who was gonna buy it. I love purple furniture, but not everybody does. Slide this down. And again, I'm not worried really about brush strokes. Very thin amount of paint. It looks streaky because it is. You just want to get it on there. Like I said, don't feel bad. If your first coat of paint looks terrible, guess what? Everybody's does. If it doesn't, then I guess you're just lucky. But mine always looks terrible and I don't care. Focus on the steps and where you want your piece to be. So that is a very pretty color. It does look kind of purple right now. It dries much darker. Just gonna stick my head in here. And get that crossbar just a little bit. I feel like you guys need to come down. Bear with me. There you go. Better? I feel like you guys can see a lot better now. Roses and peonies, of course you would know. Ask Patty, she knows everything. Okay, so we're gonna come in here again with that stippling. Make sure you get all up underneath of there. Better to do it now than find out later after you finished your piece. Coming back around. All of these products can be found on the Dixie Belle website. You go onto the Dixie Belle website, you click up on the left-hand corner, type in your zip code, and you can find a local retailer near you. And you can find all the fancy stuff. If you don't have a local retailer, you can shop online. The beauty of the internet. Get all of this done. It's kind of the boring stuff right now. It's not anything so super exciting, but a lot of people just show the fun stuff, and this is how you get there. You got to do all this stuff to get there. All up underneath and the back. Sure. All right. Again, grab those little corners. This right up underneath here. These love to not get paint on them. You just kind of want to get your brush up in there. All right, about that much paint. Again, we're not using much paint. It does not take a lot to get it on there. I don't want drips, and that's how I avoid that, is by painting super thin coats of paint. And then I don't have to go back and sand like crazy trying to get all those drips out or using a razor, which is not very fun either. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get those back pieces. Bear with me, it's gonna squeak again. We're gonna flip this guy around so I can get the back of this piece. Always make sure you do back here because you will forget. Okay? So again, we're just gonna stipple that paint on, and I flip my pieces of furniture over once it's all dried. I don't do that once I've got the finishing stuff on there. I wait until this dries and then I'll come back and do that. Anything I mess up at this point, I can fix way easier than doing all my blending and all my perfect finishes and everything like that. It would be catastrophic. I'm not painting the back of the legs. I will be staining them. I will be sanding all of this down with my Festool and staining it so it's cohesive and it doesn't look so sloppy. Grab back in here. You can see underneath all of the pieces, spots that I've missed, which is why you always turn your piece of furniture around a million times and get all the pieces. It's way easier when I'm not live. And yes, I do crawl all underneath my piece of furniture. All my other furniture artist friends out there know how fun that is. Okay, I see a spot I missed on my other legs. I'm just gonna grab that real quick. Okay, now finishing this crossbar right here. This crossbar will stay blue. I will not be blending any colors on that. I will be adding some wax to it, not to the back though. No one else is gonna see that. But to the front, just for some glitter and glam. It'll be super pretty. Making sure you guys can see through my big head. Painting sometimes isn't the easiest thing to record. Kind of need like a camera crew, which good luck. I'm not that fancy, so y'all just have to deal. Coming over to this side. See if you guys can see. Okay, now we're gonna move over here. Basic, basic, basic. But for those that need to know, now you know. All right, now we're gonna grab the inside of this leg right here. Be careful when you're painting the legs so that you don't get, I'm not really worried about it because I'm gonna sand that. But on the front, you just wanna make sure and get it real quick so you catch any drips that you may or may not have missed. We're gonna turn this around and then we're gonna pop up and we're gonna work on the front of this piece, okay? All right, that is a god-awful noise, but it is what it is. All right. Okay, and come on. There we go. Yay, now you guys can see. All right, now I can sit back down on my stool and get off this hard floor. Covered my paint back up. All right, yay. Now the fun color. I love this color, it's so pretty. I love start to finish projects. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. Okay, so now that is making an awful mess. I'm not really worried. Again, I'm gonna sand the top of that, so I wasn't concerned 1000%. Okay, let's take our brush. We're gonna mist and do a little swirly swirl to make sure there's nothing stuck in there. Throw your paintbrush on the floor. All right, let's go. All right, for some reason, this color is super thin. I'm not sure why. Sometimes different colors get this way. This is a brand new container of paint. Shake it up one more time really good. It's very watery in comparison to the other color paint I just used. And sometimes that just happens, that's better. You just wanna make sure you give it a good mix. Okay, we're using about that much paint. We're gonna come in here, we're gonna start here, okay? So I'm gonna pop my door open. We're gonna open that door up all the way. Open that one up all the way. And we're gonna work wherever I had covered. And I'm gonna come back really good because that paint tape has moved just a little bit, because I do use a low tack paint tape. I prefer that. You guys can use what you'd like. And look how pretty that color is. Isn't that a beautiful blue? Very dreamy. And again, I chose to paint this much because when my door is shut, you can see the edge. And I prefer for it to be nice and cohesive. Again, very, very little paint. If I get some on the legs, I'm not really worried. We will go back and recover that again. This again is the dusty blue color. I usually will go with vintage duck egg first, but I opted for the darker color and then blend in light. Just wipe that off. I'm gonna come up over here. I like to paint the inside of that bar. That much paint, not a lot at all, okay? If you feel like your paint is drying out, take your mister and just lightly mist your brush, okay? That way you don't have to worry about water spots or getting your paint too drippy, because it is so thin, it will drip. Okay, we're gonna slide on over. I'm gonna grab a lid, because I don't need much more than that. That much, that's it, not a lot. I'm gonna take my thumb and make sure that my paint tape is down. I'm basically feathering on this paint. Looking good, right? I think that's super cute. Now we're gonna come down and get in here. So I will lower you guys, just a smidge. It is a pretty blue, thank you so much. Don't worry about these little pieces in here that I'm gonna miss, because I will grab a craft brush, and this is not the first layer of paint that is gonna go on here. So pretty. Pretty, 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 pretty. All right. Over here. Again, if you feel your brush drying out, just give it a little mist. I prefer that than spraying my piece, because I don't want water spots on it and I don't want my paint to drip. Okay, perfect. All right, let's do this top edge. Okay, I'll slide you guys back over this way. Make sure I grab in here. I am going to dip into here. Again, very little paint, offload before I get to my crisp line. You're going to want to come under. You can tape off how far you like to go. I usually go until the piece of furniture stops under there. I will do that off camera because that's quite boring. You don't want to watch the top of my head. But do make sure you do that. Let's come on over here again. You can choose to tape if you'd like. I chose to tape this time just because I've already sanded the top. I will be sanding it again. So if I do get stuff on there like water stains or anything else that I'm doing, I'm not really concerned about it because I'm going to sand this piece of furniture probably 10 more times before I stain it. What you see when you see someone sanding furniture, I start at 80 grit, then I go back to 100, and then to 150, and from 150, then I go to 220, and from 220, I go to 500, and then I go to 600, and then I go sometimes even up to 1,000. It just depends. So with this piece, I may or may not do all of that. But here's the inside. This is coat 1. Okay, let's get this pretty door done. You guys ready for that? This is my favorite. I will be painting the edge. I sanded very, very, very much of this back to make sure that when I close it, see how it rubs? We're also on an angle, so I can take my door off and I can resand. So I will not be painting the edges today because I do have to take the doors off to make sure that they're sanded evenly so that my doors can close without rubbing. Because the more paint that you put on here, the more layers that you're going to be putting on this to add for friction, okay? Hi from California. No, I did not add any would you bend. It just came that way. The top piece looks like that too. I thought about it, but I decided not to. So I did the raised stencil instead of the would you bend because I didn't want to take away from this piece. It had molding on here to begin with and I didn't like it. So I opted just for stencil. And as you guys can see, hopefully, you can see that stencil through that texture through my paint. You need to swirl your brush around to get it all in there. That is how I usually paint my raised stencils, to make sure that I get coverage everywhere, and then just nice, easy strokes at the end. So just kind of swirl it on. You want to make sure that your product is good and dry. My stencil has been drying for a week. Otherwise, because it's water-based, you can reactivate it and then you're just going to make a blurry mess. So definitely don't do it the next day. You could seal it first too. That's another way. Can you guys see that stencil? I think that's pretty. Again, about that much paint. We're just going to dab it on. Swirl motion. And just add a little bit of water, not much, just a teeny tiny bit. I'm gonna dab off. I don't ever come outwards, I always come inwards, otherwise my edges get blobby. For those who know, no. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go back very lightly to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And there she is. Of course, I've missed a little bit. And then you can go back, like you can very lightly mist your brush, use a little bit of paint, come back in and grab those areas that you missed. Or you could wait until it dries and do it on your second coat. Completely up to you. I'm impatient, and so I'm gonna do it now. And then I will be adding some very light glaze over the top of this just to kind of get that texture to pop so it doesn't fall flat. Because if you come back, yes, you can see it, but it falls a little flat, right? Versus on that side where obviously you can see the stencil. But I wanted it to be very subtle. I wanted this piece to just kind of be a piece that just was more classy and subtle versus some of the other stuff that I do happen to paint from time to time. So that is that, okay? Next week, we will be doing the finishing touches on this thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it painted and have the bottom painted and do all of the fun things. We will come back and do the glaze work, staining the top, and doing some more fun stuff with gilding wax. So hopefully, what did you say? I meant raised stencil. Oh, okay. Yeah, raised stencil's pretty. And that's what you can see over here. And then that's it painted. You guys can kind of see it when I move it in the light. Again, very subtle. I will add stuff to make it pop a little bit more, but again, I wanted it to be something that fill in the background. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'm just gonna go ahead and be working on this girl for a little while, so I will see you guys later. See you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.